Okay, I wanted to ask you guys first about your pregame visitors. What you thought about that, and just what you thought about it.
It's really cool to be able to interact with them and thank them for what they do every day, putting their lives on the line to protect us. And they go without getting thanks a lot of the time. So just to be able to show them gratitude, like Coach says, never delay gratitude. So just to show them that gratitude and thank them, it was really special.
Yeah, Josh, you
yeah, I felt like it was really special. They sacrifice every day. It's just we don't get the chance to thank them enough. We don't have that opportunity every day, so that was really good to have that.
Yeah. So there were a lot of people in there before the game, but probably just you guys at halftime. So I'm sure the language was as supportive and loving at halftime.
Yeah, we are just need a little pick me up in the second half, and we got on a little roll there, got some stops, and whenever we seem to get stops, that's when we start to play better offensively. So that's where it all comes down to.
Yeah. Did anything feel different shooting? I mean, it was totally different shooting half the second half.
No, it's just when you get stopped, you start to get momentum, and then it starts rolling.
For our defense, it's definitely a confidence booster for us. So once we get stops, we get going, get downhill, the defense can't set up, things like that, and get our shooters going.
Yeah. There were two weird threes you had. You had an off the ball foul and then one after.
Yeah, then fouled on the shot.
Right. You guys have like a pretty simple thing to make sure you get to play the tournament at home again. How helpful is that it's not a bunch of situations, it's basically just
I feel like that's really good. We'll approach the game the same way. They'll go through the same things. Just go ahead and get that win. Hopefully here for the seniors. That's going around for them.
Yeah. We still just look at one game at a time, though. We still, obviously Asheville's always tough, so we always looking at them. So we just take care of business one game at a time, and then everything else will fall into place.
Could you guys talk a little bit about the police officers came out on the court during that timeout at the 12-minute mark, and you as a team stopped the game and clapped for them? The first time you ever clapped for somebody else during the game, and talk about your mind, like if it entered your mind that it really is just a game that you guys are in.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you see those guys literally sacrificing their lives to protect others. So when it's kind of silly with that. All we do is we put a ball in the hoop. That means nothing in the grand scheme of things compared to what they're doing. And so just to be able to thank them and show them the support that they need and that they've earned, it's just really special.
Josh?
Yeah, that was first for me also, but I think it was just a respect factor. Like they're risking their life every day. Other people get recognized during timeouts, things like that. We'll sit down, but we couldn't be in our seats when they're getting recognized for things they do.
Yeah, it was a special moment.
How much are you guys looking forward to Thursday, another nationally televised game?
I mean, you always kind of circle Asheville on the schedule. They're great. They're fun to play against. Usually they're nationally televised, and they're fun to compete against. They're competitors, and it's going to be a fun game.
It's going to be a fun one. There's always a lot more energy when there's a nationally televised game, so that'll be fun. It's like the energy from the jump. Fans will be crazy, so that'll be a good one.
The game was kind of a little bit of a tale of two halves. I felt like in the first half, and you always got to give credit to your opponent. I don't think you can just say, hey, we weren't making shots. You got to credit them and the job they did defensively on us, but shot 28% from the field, and I know our three-point percentage wasn't very good either, and it was one of those tests where you have to try to maintain your discipline on the defensive end even though your shot's not falling. And I really felt like that little spurt in the second half when Anders went on, Dave Friedman and I were talking about it. In the history of basketball, I wonder how many times on back-to-back possessions there was a 5 and a 4-point play. Literally, maybe never. That was really weird. And, it seemed like the lid came off the basket a little bit. We saw it go in a little bit, and I credit Anders with that. Josh Ferguson was really, really good on the glass. It was one of those games where you had to win ugly a little bit. And, obviously Longwood was shorthanded. They didn't have Isaiah Walton, who's one of the best one-on-one offensive creating scoring guards in the league. So they played shorthanded and they never quit. They fought. They had answers in the second half when we started to expand our lead, and they kept hanging in there. So give them a lot of credit. Obviously, the importance of the game, I think, paled in comparison to our university's ability to recognize the heroes that were here today, and the police officers and the first responders. We talked about in the locker room before the game, and this is something that we say to our players all the time, and this comes from Coach Prosser, the guy that taught me to coach and taught me to be a professional, and that's the never delay gratitude. And as I told them in that locker room, that there's nobody that deserves more thank you and praise and gratitude than those people that put their lives on the line every single day when they button up their shirts on their uniform, knowing that their lives could be at risk when they go to work to protect us, to be able to live in this great country we live in safely, and be able to do the things we do, like go to school and play basketball and coach basketball. So to see them in our locker room, and you talk to Officer Jody's brother, and to see the grief on his face, and I can't fathom what he must be dealing with and what he must be feeling. But to hopefully put a smile on their face and make them feel good that this community and this university appreciates them and the job that they do and those like them. And I want to credit the Herald, and I know Andrew's here and Brett's here, and I know how deeply they care about this community, and this was something that we sort of talked to them about in making this happen, and showing them great appreciation. So I think it was very powerful for our guys, and I just appreciate them taking time out of their busy schedules to come be a part of today with us.
Coach, would you address during the 12-minute timeout, they brought the officers out and they recognized them, and you had your team clapped and you stopped a timeout in a game that you're fighting for home court advantage, you're fighting for your conference championship, and you turned around and you clapped for these guys. And have you ever stopped a game where you were coaching before and said, we need to stop and thank people while they're in the middle of your ball game? It just seems like an incredible thing.
It's not something that we talked about. I didn't even tell our guys, but it was the right thing to do. I mean, obviously, that was their being at the game today, and the importance of that, and us showing our appreciation was more important than anything. The thing I feel most bad about, to be honest with you, is I should have conveyed to my good friend Jason G at Longwood, who, by the way, is not one of the best, I'm just saying not one of the best people in coaching, but one of the best human beings I've ever met, a mentor to me. And I just feel bad that I didn't give him a heads up that they were going to do that at the timeout, because he didn't know, and they would have done the exact same thing. So it was just the right thing to do to honor them at that moment. The timeout was way down the priority list, and the adjustments we were going to make, just making them feel good and special in that moment, was the most important thing.
You said you guys needed to kind of like just remain steady, through a slow start. So how appropriate was it that maybe one of your steadiest people got you guys going, early in the second?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, Anders Broman is as buttoned up as an individual as you'll ever meet. I don't think he has flaws and faults. I don't know if he has any vices. He's just too good to be true. I mean that in the best way possible, but he's steady Eddie. We talk about, guys have to be basketballs, not footballs. I've said this to you before. When you drop a football, it might bounce this way, it might bounce that way. But when you drop a basketball, it comes right back to you, and you absolutely know what you're going to get with Anders Broman every single day. What he brings to the practice floor, his leadership by example, one of the most tenacious workers I've ever been around. You actually have to scale him back. You have to tell him to get out of the gym and shoot less shots and to work less hard, or else he'll overdo it. He's just wired that way. And he's been so steady for us throughout his whole career here. One of the greatest decisions we ever made since we took over here is bringing that kid on, because he's such a culture player for us on and off the floor. And that's what he did, because we couldn't buy one. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 you start lighting it up, and it's what this team's all about. It's I think we're a deep unit. We had 5 guys in double figures. I think that's the hallmark of our team. You can't just key on one guy. Obviously, Xavier's the generational player here, but we have a lot of other weapons that can beat you on any given night.
Was today a game where Xavier's relationship with the referees maybe worked against him? I felt like, you can comment about refereeing however much you want, but I felt like they were really focused on him from the even maybe before the game, from what it sounded like.
No, I mean, Xavier knows, and Xavier is. You guys that have spent time with Xavier, he is a great kid, and he is a phenomenal personality. He's funny and he's witty and he's smart. He's a great student, all that stuff. Something that we've dealt with Xav since he's been here and that he's worked hard to improve on is keeping his composure and not getting high with the highs and lows with the lows and getting involved in calls and officiating and things like that. Zav's not perfect, but either you and either I. We all have flaws and we all have faults, and it's something that he's worked hard on, and he knows he has to learn to keep his mouth shut and just play the game. So, no, I think those guys did a phenomenal job. I think we had a high-level officiating crew today. Those are high-level conference guys. One of the guys on the crew had the Xavier Villanova game yesterday, which is number 3 versus number 4, and they coach and ref in the Final Four. It's a high-level crew right there. I thought they did a good job officiating the game, and I think Xav got off track a little bit there early on, and I think after halftime, we talked to him, he settled down, he went in, he gave us great leadership. It's the thing the assistant said, we thought our seniors really gave us great leadership in the second half. Not only Anders making those shots, but there were a couple times where the coaches are all standing out there before we go into the huddle, and I look over and Zav's turning his chair, and he's barking at guys and giving them stuff. And when we do that, and the coaching's coming from within and not just my mouth, is when we're really, really good.
You mentioned that odd sequence, and Anders mentioned getting stops when he was in here talking to us. Before that odd sequence, though, it was 32-30. Jeter gets the ball on the left baseline, has a chance to go up and tie the game, and you fronted him, and he ends up dribbling the ball off his leg. Was that stop the key to that run?
I don't know if it was that one specific stop. I mean, when you're in coaching, you stay on the sideline, every stop is like life or death. It seems like the ball goes in, it's like, So, that was the last stop before Anders went on his crazy 9-0 run or whatever it was. So yeah, I mean, we say all the time, when we string stops together is when we can really expand our lead. So I don't know how many kills we had today, which is our 3 stops in a row, but when we string stops together, I think is when we really go on runs.
You mentioned the tough first half. We talk about Adam all the time, and Adam had 12 points in that first half and really kind of kept you in it. What do you think of his effort?
Yeah, that's what he does. I mean, he's got, I don't know who used this word. It was Clark Kellogg or something, spurtability. And I think our team has spurtability, but Adam can go on a one-man run by himself a lot. He's one of those microwave players that can heat up really, really quick. We've used this same tongue-in-cheek joke forever and ever, but he's a spark. He'll spark them and he'll spark us. He'll burn us and he'll burn them. But, I say all the time, he's like, the last time I think we talked, he's like Mariano Rivera. He's closer mentality. He can turn the page from 2 turnovers, and he's going to throw the same thread the needle wild pass in the very next possession without blinking an eye. And that's why we love him. But he's got to clean that type of stuff up. But yeah, he sparks us. Very, very, very talented offensive player. And he's really in his 3rd year become a very, very good Winthrop defender too. Struggled in our system early on, probably for the first year and a half, 2 years. He could always guard the ball, he always deflect the ball, always play with activity, but he's locked in to our system now, which makes him even more dangerous.